In the summer of 2022, OceanXplorer was en route to Malta during a session of our Young Explorers program. We stopped in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea for a quick ROV dive to show the students how it's done. ROV stands for Remotely Operated Vehicle. It's essentially a robot tethered to the ship with all kinds of sampling tools, sensors, and cameras, which our ROV pilots control from the surface. We were flying the ROV down at 3,500 meters, almost 11,500 feet deep, and not seeing much. Then suddenly, everyone noticed an object sitting in the sand.
That's an amphora.
That's an amphora.
That's so cool. Amazing.
We immediately knew that we were seeing something very special on the seafloor. It was a needle in a haystack.
It was an amphora, an ancient storage container. The ROV pilots sprung into action to carefully pick it up so we could give people a chance to study it. An artifact like this found in international waters is considered to be part of the common heritage of mankind. Following UNESCO rules, we alerted conservators in our next port of call.
As soon as we retrieved the artifact, we called Heritage Malta. We knew that we would need their expertise.
Timmy Gambine is a professor of maritime archaeology at the University of Malta and leads Heritage Malta's Underwater Cultural Heritage Unit.
When you bring an ancient artifact up from the seafloor, you cannot just dry it, for example, with a towel and put it into storage. You need to be able to have a plan for its long-term storage, also for its further study, things like 3D scanning, and then for eventual exhibition and sharing with the public. The object also needs to go through a whole process of desalination.
An artifact on the bottom of the ocean has been absorbing salt for centuries. When you first bring it to the surface, it's essential to keep it in seawater and very slowly add fresh water to gently get rid of the salt, and only then can you dry it off.
If this is not done, the salt will slowly come out and it makes the material unstable. By desalination, you can give it a life of another 1,000 or 2,000 years.
Desalination took 9 months. Meanwhile, OceanXplorer had a schedule of missions all over the Atlantic, so the amphora came along for the ride. In September 2023, we sailed back to Malta to finally hand it over and find out exactly what we discovered all those months ago. An amphora is a container made out of fired clay. They're usually round, have a narrow neck with handles, and don't have a flat bottom.
Amphorae were in use for over 2,000 years, so their shapes evolved according to where they were being made and what they were being made for.
They were used to transport liquids, things like olive oil, wine, and in Roman times, fish sauce.
Amphorae were made specifically to be loaded on ships, and not one or two, but hundreds. Like any archaeological object, they need to be treated with care and handled with care, but these were tough objects.
Timmy and his team determined that our amphora was made in southern Italy in approximately the 5th century AD, most likely to carry wine. They'll try to confirm what it held by taking shavings from the inside.
There is so much more to understand and to study than the story of the artifact itself. You're not only looking at a historical object, but you're also looking at somebody's agricultural choices. Why did people choose to plant vines and not olive trees, for example? You're also handling something that is representative of the work of human beings.
At the time and place someone made this amphora, there was a lot going on.
We're looking at a period of turmoil. Rome is declining and declining fast, and yet there are people out there who are still tilling the fields, picking grapes, making wine, putting it in amphorae, finding a ship, finding an agent, putting these objects onto a ship.
Based on where we found the amphora, Timmy thinks the ship was traveling eastwards from the central Mediterranean, probably going to Byzantium. We'll never know if the amphora fell overboard or was tossed on purpose, but finding it establishes that an ancient ship sailed over the same spot where OceanXplorer sat doing an ROV dive centuries later.
This amphora was found as a solitary object. However, a solitary object is quantitatively as important as an entire shipwreck. One shipwreck equals one ship passing from the surface. One amphora is also equal to one ship passing on the surface.
Today, almost all the objects we use in our daily lives travel across the ocean at some point.
Before the age of flight, everything had to be transported by sea and everyone had to be transported by sea. So understanding this important avenue for the movement of people, goods, and even ideas is absolutely essential to understanding who we are today.